Welcome back to the channel, Crypto Trend Trader, with a quick update on Bitcoin. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you it's not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. These markets are extremely volatile, so please do your own research and trade responsibly. Alright, so here we got Bitcoin on the 4-hour, and essentially price action's just been taking its time, but it's playing out exactly like we talked about. We've already gotten the retest so far of the 0.5 from the top to our bottom right here. That's a 50% retrace of the move. We're expecting essentially somewhere in between the 382 and the 618 essentially area. So what I'm looking at now is essentially we came up here and hit that 0.5 and then sold off back down to the 382. What I'm looking to see what happens is, are we going to now come back down to the previous fib level before that area and then get a move back up to the top? Are we going to consolidate here and then continue on the upside? Or are we going to sell off now? And that was the end of our like A, B, C retracement, and then we're going back down. It looks like right now, if I had to give like my honest opinion, what we're going to do is we put in the 1, came down for the 2, came up, put in the 3, and then the 4 would bring us back down to where the 1 topped out, which is going to line up perfectly with the moving average right here as well. And then it's also going to be the 618 in blue right here of this move. So if we count from the retrace from the 2 up to the top of what I'm calling the 3 right now, that would give us basically a 618, 61.8% retrace of that move from here to here. And then it would also line up perfectly with the top of 1, which Elliott wave theory says that when the 4 comes back down, it cannot retrace further than the 1 by more than a wick on longer time frames. So essentially what we're looking for is we put in a high here, we put in a low, and it looks like we're putting in a lower high. And then if we come down here and take out this low, we'd be putting in a lower low. And, you know, that would look like a sell-off, could come in violent with just one of these right here. And then we could get our continuation. So that's what I am paying attention to right now. That's what I'm looking for. Like I said, essentially, this 3 could continue and we could go up to the 618 and then sell off, and then really it was more like an A, B, C, and then continuation. It's possible that you know, we do get continuation right now, even higher, and then we get a retrace and then continuation, and it becomes like not an internal retracement. We actually break back out to higher prices. I think right now that's less likely to happen, especially based on like traditional markets and the strong correlation that we've been seeing essentially between like, you know, all markets right now. It's absolutely crazy how much everything is tied together. I mean, it's obviously all the same money moving around, but we've never seen them this closely tied to each other. So, but that is what I'm expecting right now. That gives me the most levels of confluence also. And then on top of that, oftentimes with Bitcoin, you'll see that like the 1 and the 3 will be the same, or more often what will happen is the 3 will be longer, and then you'll get a truncated 5th wave, so it'll be like the same length as the 3. So if we take the length of the 3 and then we basically put that from where I'm like estimating the retracement would come back down to find support at the 1, that's going to essentially give us the exact move up to the 618, which would be the 5. So that's what it looks like is going to happen. It's quite a bit of confluence, just based on like previous action in Bitcoin and everything. That's what looks more likely to me. But again, any one of those scenarios could play out. We could just, you know, fail right now and start selling off. But I think more often than not, what we're looking to happen right here is we're looking to at least tag the 200 simple in blue right here. So if we tag that and then sell off, it would be more likely, but we came so close to it and then failed to touch it right here. I think like algo wise, like the target's going to be to at least touch that. Although the 0.5 is a common retrace, you know, Charles Dow theory. But to tell you the truth, at this point in time, after this much consolidation and this slowly just like creep up here, I think we're most likely going to get up here to test the 618. And then also that's basically like going to give us this area of the breakdown. So we would be like retesting this support area that we had this whole time we were cruising around up here. Retest that as the breakdown, find that as resistance, and then sell back off. It also gives like exchanges and whales the opportunity to unload their positions, you know, basically at the bottom of this range after eating this dump to the face. So And I think based on the amount of people that were taken by surprise by this move right here, I think it's very likely that after that head and shoulders played out and everything, that they're basically just marching this back up to unload their positions, and then we can get the continuation to the downside. But at this point in time, that's what I'm looking at. There's not a lot going on here. It's basically just doing what we've been saying that we expected it to do for the last like 3 or 4 days. Based on oscillator indicators, obviously we got the hard sell up here, basically at the level we're at right now. It looks like it does want to continue selling off right there. The histogram after 2 red wicks on the histogram basically was telling us that we don't want to be in that position, but we did get a couple false alarms like throughout the trend. So if you got out in time, that's great, but you obviously wanted to get back in for this. So that's where the shorter time frame sometimes can kind of bite you in the butt if you don't get that continuation move. We do expect right here when the histogram comes down to hit the blue, typically to get a move right there. If it does not find support right here and get the bounce, essentially it's going to come down to the 21 on the 4 hour, and then obviously next targets are just going to be moving averages on the way down. In the event that it does come down here on the 4 hour and close below the 618 of this move from the 2 to the 3 here in blue, if it comes down below that and we get a 4 hour close below that, that's going to invalidate this count as far as Elliott wave is concerned, at which point I would just expect continuation back to the downside, as this is not going to be a legitimate 5-wave structure at that point in time. And then same thing here, if it comes down and comes down only to like the 0.5 in blue, and then we find support and get continuation, that's perfectly fine as well. It doesn't have to come all the way back down there. I just think there's so many levels of confluence, and it's very common to find support on the 4 at the previous high of the 1, and then also with the moving average right there as well. I think it gives it like a very high likelihood, and then also the measured move from the 2 to the 3 is the same as the 4 to 5, lining up perfectly at the 618. But we could always overshoot that and come as high as like 786 without being like ridiculous. But I don't think that's as likely to happen, especially if we look at what's going on with traditional markets, and they continue to essentially like show weakness and sell off. So, but this is what we're looking at on the daily. We're basically talking about coming up here and essentially tagging the 50 simple, which would basically line up with the 618, would line up with our targets exactly up here. But if we get anywhere in this range, we're going to start essentially like entering shorts. There's definitely a trade to be taken though off of the 89 if this does sell off here, back down to the 618 and then up to the 5. But a lot of times you'll see the 5th wave underperform as well, so have to be careful in that sense. I think, it's a 7.5%, almost 8% move, so it's worth a quick scalp trade, especially if the alts start showing strength. But typically I go to the alts for like a larger measured move if the if the move doesn't look great on Bitcoin. But to tell you the truth, right now a lot of the alts are just continuing to show weakness and not getting like the bounces at all. The majors like Ethereum are still staying fairly strong, but even stuff like Chainlink that was like super bullish before, and Tezos and stuff like that are just getting crushed right now, and I would expect them to sell off. And then other projects like Cardano, I would just expect to completely go away. Oh no, that might be wishful thinking. But anyway, there's our crypto trend trader daily technical analysis on Bitcoin. Just waiting to see what the market tells us. We don't want to jump to any conclusions here. If we do get the cross on the 8 and 21 on the daily, stay above this long enough, basically at 10.8. We can stay above that long enough, we'll get the cross back to the upside, and we can start potentially looking at like a longer term trending trade to the upside. But I would expect it to at least come down here and test it once before it just gives in. We did get the multiple green histograms. We did get the hard buy through this area. We had obviously the accumulation zone. So essentially if you're just playing this on the daily, it was a pretty easy move. It's been rather uneventful. But if we got another nice little pop up here, I think that's the time that I will be distributing the rest of my spot swing trade on the market. So, but again, we'll see. Waiting for like an opportune trade to enter. Basically just been repurchasing some of the spot that we sold up here down at these levels, and then once again distributed up near like the top of the range if price action looks a little weak or doesn't look like it's going to get continuation. So there you have it, guys. Crypto Trend Trader, and I'm out of here.